Yes, this is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. I had the best words. God bless the United States.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times.
Stupid!
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's Wednesday. We got a show for you. It should be fun. And by the way, I need to just add my lights in the background. You know, just a little bit of extra, a little bit of mood lighting, you know? We have that. Yes, mood lighting. And now we've got stories. They're going to be fun. All right. So first off, Donald Trump, and there went all my speakers. Donald Trump, you know what?
We'll do it live!
I can't even hear that right now. So, we're going to start out with a complete and utter technical fail. So actually, if you want to give me a minute, I'm going to go fix that real quick so I can hear things. And then we're going to have fun. We're going to talk about Donald Trump, and, the N-word. But is it that N-word? Stay tuned. First off, let's take a second here to fix my sound. I'll be back.
There's insanity in the control room.
All right, we're back. It is funny to watch my speakers just fly off my desk randomly. It's great. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So that's how our day is starting. Yes, we do it live and on a shoestring budget. But anyway, we're going to have fun. We'll start with Donald Trump. And then we'll go into some other stuff, including leopards. They've gone after another right-winger's face. Fun. Let's do it. Never gets old.
Says, look, I'm an environmentalist also, I guess, in my own way, because I've done a good job with the environment, but nobody talks about nuclear, the problem The problem we have, the biggest problem we have in the whole world, it's not global warming, it's nuclear warming. And all it takes is one madman, and you're going to have a problem the likes of which the world has never seen. And it's only a matter of seconds. You don't have to wait 200 to 300 years for it to happen.
That was Donald Trump bringing up the N-word. The N-word that nobody talks about. The nuclear word. It's the N-word. The nuclear word. Nobody talks about nuclear. Look, nobody talks about it, but I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about nuclear warming. He's a very smart guy, obviously. Very, very stable genius, bringing up something that we've never talked about, except we have. Now, here's the thing about that. Trump is right about something. People could elect a madman, or a madman could get into power who could, cause a problem like the world has never seen before. Oh, wait, that already happened. And let me give you an example. During the Trump administration, he had, floated the idea of sending and detonating a nuclear device inside of a hurricane. This is according to a source that was in on the meeting. Here's what Trump said, quote, "Hurricanes start forming off the coast of Africa. As they're moving across the Atlantic, we drop a bomb inside the eye of the hurricane and it disrupts it. Why can't we do that?" Well, I mean, because it's stupid. Really, really stupid. Not a good idea, sir. It's just, not exactly the best idea here to, detonate nuclear weapons inside of hurricanes.
You idiot.
Sir? By the way, that same source noted to Axios that, quote, "You could hear a gnat fart in that meeting," and perhaps even Rudy Giuliani. People were astonished. After the meeting ending, we thought, what the F? What do we do with this? What do we do with this? You don't know, but that was the most powerful man in the world at the time. Wow. And look, the report also claimed that Trump had raised the possibility of bombing hurricanes with another senior administration official, as detailed in a 2017 NSC memo. And that's the National Security Council. But that's not all. Trump had also discussed increasing the number of U.S. nuclear weapons by nearly tenfold, which is more which would have cost more than our entire budget, basically. Yeah. Following the meeting, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, good old Rex Tillerson, we like to call him Tex Drillerson, who was no fan of the environment, by the way, since I guess that's what we was overall what Donald Trump was talking about. It's nuclear warming. Actually, it's not even how it would work. That's the other thing. But no, Rex Tillerson basically called Trump a moron after that meeting. Well, yes. Look, I hate to say it, but thank goodness for Republicans who were definitely, absolutely corrupted and power hungry, but were not complete and utter morons, as to say, hey, Mr. President, sure, let's drop a nuke into a hurricane. That would be a fantastic idea. But now he's talking about nuclear warming. But wait, the thing about it would create a nuclear winter. It would have the opposite effect. Nuclear winter. Nobody's heard of a nuclear summer. Although, to be fair, once it goes off and you're close enough, I guess you get a nuclear summer for about, 1.7 seconds before you're absolutely incinerated. But if you're outside of that area, then yeah, you're going to have a nuclear winter, not nuclear warming. Jesus. Look, on his staff members, low bar, but by God, they met it, but just barely. But okay, let's get back to the, I would say the funniest part about this. I'm an environmentalist also. Yes, I am something of an environmentalist myself, says the man who, during his time in office, took pretty much every opportunity to dismantle every single pro-environmental regulation that he could. I'm not kidding. He dismantled hundreds of regulations designed to protect ecosystems and curb corporate pollution. Some examples here. The Trump administration replaced the Clean Power Plan with something else that's obviously less comprehensive. That was from the Obama administration. In fact, look, pretty much every regulation that Trump had gotten rid of mainly came from the Obama administration, because he, of course, had to undo everything that Obama had done. Because Obama. Or should I say... Obama! All right. Other things that he had done is redefined critical terms under the Endangered Species Act, lifted oil and natural gas extraction bans, weakened the coal ash rule, so more coal ash in your rivers. That, by the way, regulates the disposal of toxic coal waste, and also revised the mercury and air toxic standards in a way that relaxed those standards. But no, you understand, he's something of an environmentalist himself, he says. But just that he's worried about the nuclear warming. The nuclear. I think his brain is, at this point, the only thing that's radioactive here. Also, let me just add.
You idiot!
Stupid! Okay. Let's move on, shall we? Let's go to Republicans. Defunding things. Like knowledge. And he had the nuclear codes. I hope they changed them. You better believe that would be the first thing that they would change. Because of course. All right. Republicans in the Missouri House of Representatives have voted to defund the state's library system. Because apparently knowledge is bad. Books, bad. Unless it's the Bible, of course. Now, this is in retaliation to a lawsuit from the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, who had sued the state for banning numerous LGBTQ plus books as explicit sexual materials. So the state banned these books under some pretty erroneous guidelines, but let's be clear, the intent was to get rid of anything that was LGBTQ plus, as they've been doing in a lot of different states. The ACLU sued, and now retaliation. You're going to sue us. Or I should say the ACLU is going to sue us. All right, well, we're just going to take it out in the library. We're just going to defund them all. Of course. Now, the House bill eliminates $4.5 million of state funding for libraries, as well as costs for, unsurprisingly, diversity initiatives, because they hate that. Childcare? Wait, I thought we care about the children. We're going to get rid of childcare and pre-K programs. It's according to WCPT 820 Radio. So, I'm not just not just libraries, and diversity initiatives, because again, as I pointed out, they hate those. But now going after childcare, ostensibly, as they claim, to protect the children's well. Now, the removal now requires an additional state House vote and a state Senate approval before heading to the governor's desk to become law. Missouri House Budget Committee leader Representative Cody Smith had suggested defunding libraries in response to the ACL's lawsuit over SB 775 passed in June of 2022. While SB 775 expanded the rights of sexual assault victims, State Senator Rick Bratton included an amendment that punished any school librarian who provides what they consider to be sexually explicit material to a student, whether inside or outside of a school setting, with an up to $2,000 fine or a year in jail. So I go back to what they consider to be sexually explicit material, because when it comes down to it, they have a different view of what is considered to be sexually explicit. Their view is anything that mentions anything other than a heterosexual relationship. So Bratton's amendment defined sexually explicit material as any image depicting human masturbation, deviant sexual intercourse, sadomasochistic abuse, or post-pubertal human genitals. And while his amendment made exceptions for artistic, anthropological, science, and health texts, state schools disregarded this amendment and removed 300 titles in response to the law. So basically, they were afraid anyway, because of how vague it seemed to be. Many of the titles removed from Missouri schools are authored by or about individuals who are minorities and or identify as LGBTQ+, as well as human anatomy books and Holocaust history books, most of which do not even contain anything fitting the law's definition of sexually explicit material. So there's a chilling effect here. Most libraries remove these books without following their school district's official policies regarding the book removal because, once again, the whole point, the whole intent, is to scare these districts into removing as many LGBTQ books as possible. We know that's the intent. Not only does this violate free speech protections, says the ACLU, and restricts access to information, but it's also caused librarians, educators, administrators, parents, and others affiliated to fear criminal penalties and employment repercussions, even if they give a book to their own child or a friend outside of school settings. So what this is, it is censorship that claims to protect children. But here's the thing. There were already laws on the books to protect children from getting supplied with pornographic material. So you already had laws there, and yet they decided we're going to pass even more laws. And the intent, of course, as I've said before, to get rid of LGBTQ plus literature as their systematic effort to get rid of LGBTQ plus people. You go after the information first. You go after the knowledge. You go after the history. One way to wipe a certain group out of existence is to attack their history, is to attack knowledge about them, and then to demonize them. We've seen this playbook before. Now, furthermore, both the Missouri Association of School Librarians, the MASL, and the Missouri Library Association, MLA, already had media experts employed in schools to help choose appropriate, age-appropriate educational materials. So they already had people there checking to see if things were age-appropriate. Both organizations have had to spend significant time and resources answering questions about this new law. The ACL's lawsuit is on behalf of the MASL and MSL. They had asked for a permanent injunction against this law. So now, one of the people that had pushed this law, that was Cody Smith, he claimed that the removal of the library's annual government funding was only to prevent taxpayers from subsidizing the ACLU's lawsuit, which, again, you look into the details, That's just not true. The ACLU is not getting paid for this representation. There is no taxpayer money going to this suit. They're doing it pro bono. So there's no reason to defund them. Except, of course, the whole point of doing this was you were going to defund them anyway, and all you needed was a reason. And this also sends another message. Comply, or we will do censorship on you. Or I should say, you should do censorship, and we will pull, if you don't do our censorship, we will pull your funding. We'll defund you. We'll get rid of you. We'll make it so that you cannot operate. And that's it. That's the reality. Now, MLA's statement also adds state aid helps libraries provide relevant collections, literacy-based programming, oh, they hate that, and technology resources to their communities. Our rural libraries rely most heavily on this funding to serve their communities, and they will be crippled by this drastic budget cut. So, look, that's a really, really important point. Libraries they do more than just have books to rent. To borrow. They do a lot of other things. For one, there's internet access at a lot of libraries. People can use that for educational purposes if they don't have access to the internet at home or a computer. That happens a lot in rural areas that are not connected to broadband services. And so they're right when they point out, the MLA points out, that this will have a disproportionate impact on rural areas and their access to materials and education. Job training as well. There's a lot of different services libraries actually are able to perform, only if they're adequately funded. So they're harming their communities, their own communities, places where these Republican politicians, which are largely representative of rural areas. Okay, so that's who they're supposed to represent. They're out there harming their own communities in order to do their culture wars. And that's what this is. Their culture war, pro-censorship narrative. This tactic, the MLA wrote in a tweet, is meant to bully the MLA into submission. Instead, directly harms public libraries who rely on those funds, especially the smaller, more rural libraries. And so, again, this is about retaliation. This is about being pro-censorship. Republicans are showing their hand. They're big government, pro-censorship, anti-LGBTQ. They want to eliminate trans people, eliminate gay people. That's it. I'd say the mask is off, but honestly, they haven't had a mask in a long time. Not much of a mask to begin with. Now, finally, I want to give you a report here from the free speech organization PEN America on how disastrous Republicans have been when it comes to people being able to access knowledge. They reported that school bans on LGBTQ books have been escalating dramatically over the last year, and about 1/3 of the 1,586 books banned from schools nationwide have LGBTQ themes and characters. Others, of course, also include racism, racist, explorations of Black lifestyle, Black characters, as well as talking about, racism, and exploring those things. And PEN America points out that the bans have largely come from Republican politicians, of course, because they're pro-censorship, conservative school boards, and so-called parents' rights groups, which generally tend to be, bankrolled by giant conservative organizations. And they have opposed this because of, wait for it, the wokers. Woke indoctrination. Yeah. So again, that's what this is about. It's disgusting, and if you actually do care about, freedom, information, knowledge, you would be against what they're doing. Okay. Moving on. All right. Let's see. And what I can only describe as another case of, I can't believe the leopards would actually eat my face. A former Trump campaign attorney, Jenna Ellis, who I've talked about before, was suddenly shocked and chagrined to find out that conservatives are willing to use misogynistic insults at people that they don't like, specifically her.
My.
Well, say it ain't so. The proud defenders of biological women coming after a woman. Oh, well, she had to have done something, right? She had to have perpetuated some sort of heinous crime against conservative. Perhaps Jenna Ellis became woke. Is that what happened?
No.
Here's the thing about this. She's actually done literally nothing to offend her own side. I'm not kidding. Apparently, people who are very, very pro-Trump, MAGA people, are mad at her for not coming out strong enough for Donald Trump. So, Jenna Ellis, so let's go back here. We know that Ron DeSantis hasn't jumped into the race yet, but there's been a lot of discussion about that, and there's been a lot of people that have, basically divided themselves into camps. There are people that are, again, like Laura Loomer, who are very, very pro-Trump, and then there are other people, a lot of establishment folks that are very, very pro-Ron DeSantis. So where's Jenna Ellis? She hasn't picked a side. Ellis has said nice things about Trump and DeSantis, and has not expressed a preference for either candidate. Now, apparently, though, if you have not chosen a side, that means you've chosen a side. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, I guess. Here's what she wrote after receiving some criticism for actually not doing anything, not saying anything about Trump or DeSantis that's bad. She said, I was called a lot of things and had a lot of leftist hit pieces trying to destroy my credibility while I represented Trump. But I never saw a media outlet or journo use the blatant sexism and vulgarity that MAGA influencers do now. And I don't even work for DeSantis. You don't say. Oh, man. MAGA chuds being misogynistic? Being sexist and vulgar towards you? I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine at all.
Really?
Wow. I know. Oh, okay, so let me go back here and just say, first off, Jenna Ellis destroyed her own credibility. She don't have that left. She ain't got no credibility to destroy. But that said, is it okay to use sexism against someone? No. Even against people we don't disagree with politically. I know. Whoa, a controversial statement here. No, we shouldn't be sexist at all. It's kind of the whole point of being on the left, is to push back against those things, push back against sexism. Okay? But look, unfortunately, we do see it on all sides of the political spectrum, and we definitely see it on the right. Okay? So now the examples she showed were conservatives basically saying some, there's a lot of sexual overtones here, calling her sloppy seconds for DeSantis, calling her a community bike, saying that she's on her knees for DeSantis, and even making a joke about her having a Ron DeSantis themed sex toy, which is, look, if you're coming up with that, well, that's disturbing.
Sexual anarchy.
I'm just saying, she didn't come up with that. That commenter came up with it. Like, you've been thinking too much about that stuff, buddy. Wow. Now, she said this. I'm sorry, this is one of her followers saying in response to this, her showcasing the treatment that she has gotten from MAGA supporters. Quote, truly gross behavior. What's crazy is that you've been fair to both candidates. Ellis then replied, fairness equals traitor to the cultists. Hey, look, she ain't wrong. This entire situation is super ironic. Super ironic. Okay. Again, correct that they're cultists. And again, I don't agree with their politics. And there's no excuse to use misogynistic attacks. That itself is not an excuse. There is no excuse. I do not condone this. But I just got to point out that you know how some conservatives don't care about something until it affects them personally. And you see where I'm going with this. Okay? This is one of those things. Jenna Ellis has attacked the LGBTQ plus community for years, in some of the grossest ways. A few weeks ago, she called Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg and his husband Chasten sexual perverts. Why? Well, because they're in a gay relationship and they're dads. Ooh. Look, I'm not a Mayor Pete stan by any sense of the imagination, okay? But there is one thing that I will always do, whether I agree with them or not. I will always stand up against homophobic attacks. I will always stand up against transphobia. I will always stand up against misogyny. And look, this is why I will stand up against the misogynistic attacks against Jenna Ellis. I don't agree with her. And again, I will always know Jenna Ellis as a woman who got farted on by Rudy Giuliani. Because that is funny. It's hilarious. But I will not attack someone for inherent characteristics. If you're going to attack people on how, well, for example, how they treat other people. Because that is something that they have control of. And as far as Jenna Ellis is concerned, she has attacked people for inherent differences. Again, the LGBTQ plus community. She had once linked an article about Stonewall, cited the most legendary LGBTQ plus protest in U.S. history, led by a trans woman, by the way, being made a national monument, and wrote this, quote, a national monument to our open embrace and celebration of sin. She also told people that they should vote for Donald Trump because of his opposition to equality for LGBTQ plus folks. Remember Donald Trump? Supposed to be the most LGBTQ friendly president? Not so. Not so. So what this is an illustration of is basically seeing her years of attacking people for inherent differences in the most grossest ways coming back to haunt her. I do not think that this is an accident. I don't think it's right. I'm just pointing out that what goes around, what goes around has a habit of eventually coming around. So if you're a conservative woman, there's nothing wrong with being a conservative woman, but you decide to attack trans women, lesbians, gay people, people who are different, etc., especially if you're a cis, white, conservative woman, and you think that because you're cis white, that you are not going to be attacked, that you are going to be safe from misogyny. Let me tell you, think again. Because it is only a matter of time before the leopards come for your face. Okay. Moving on. Here's another unsurprise. A Texas Republican is facing allegations of having an inappropriate relationship with an intern. Now, this is Texas State Representative Brian Slayton. Slayton is well known for being incredibly hard right, even in regards to Texas, and has led the charge to ban drag shows. Family-friendly drag shows, all-age drag shows, doesn't matter. Now, he claims that he's just very concerned about the sexualization of children and young people. Well, this guy, Slayton, has had a complaint filed against him with the Texas State Legislature that claims that, among other things, he invited an unnamed female intern who happens to be under the age of 21 over to his apartment on the weekend for some drinks, some alcoholic drinks. Now, as I mentioned before, she's not 21. She's not old enough to legally drink. And also, I think more importantly, she's his intern. There is a power dynamic here. Now, a complaint filed with the House General Investigating Committee by a legislative staffer and obtained by the Texas Tribune, as well as the Tribune source with direct knowledge of the incident, said that Slayton called the intern after 10 p.m. on a Friday, March 31st, and invited her to his apartment, where they, of course, were drinking. Now, I'm not naive. I'm sure you're not either. I'm sure you know that there's usually only one reason a man who was going through, by the way, divorce from his wife would invite a young female intern over to his apartment on a Friday night for drinks. It doesn't sound like a couple of old friends sharing a beer. I'm just saying. Which, of course, explains why, according to the complaint, Slayton allegedly tried to cover the entire thing up. According to allegations in the complaint obtained by the Tribune, Slayton later showed that intern fake emails that claimed to have information about the incident in an apparent loyalty test. Weird. And told her not to tell anyone about the incident. Hey, you know the friendly drinks that we had over at my apartment? You know, that never happened. Never happened. If you say anything, I'm going to deny it. Never happened. Never happened. What are you talking about? I didn't invite you over for drinks. Now, Slayton's attorney, of course, denied the claims, and we don't know if they're true or not, since they are still allegations that are being investigated. But here's Slayton attorney Patrick Short in a statement to the Texas Tribune saying, "We are aware of the outrageous claims circulating online by second-tier media that makes false claims against Representative Slayton. As a result, he has been advised to forward all inquiries in this matter, including any that may relate to a possible complaint, to his legal counsel." Now, Texas Republican House Speaker Dade Phelan said his office would look into the allegations. I'm not entirely sure if that'll be the case because it is Texas and Texas Republicans. Honestly, the Texas House has had quite a few scandals involved. quite a few members specifically that have had some pretty heinous allegations against them involving sexual impropriety. So I don't entirely know how hard they'll be investigating this particular case, these allegations. But here's her statement anyway. Texas House does not tolerate misconduct or any other inappropriate behaviors and takes all allegations related to these issues seriously. I expect this matter to be addressed in a swift and thorough manner under the rules governing our chamber for the 88th legislature and all applicable standards of conduct. Now, again, according to the Texas Tribune, allegations of sexual misconduct have cast a long shadow at the Capitol with little oversight of workplace conduct and frequent attempts to downplay such behavior or sweep it under the rug. So my guess is, and I can't say for certain, but I'm guessing that, oh yeah, no, it's going to be addressed very, very quickly, swift and thorough. Under the rug you go with the rest of them. How big of a rug do you have? I mean, there's only so much that you can hide. That rug's got to be like 10 feet tall by now, with all the crap that they're shoving on it, under it. But again, to be fair, these are all allegations. Nothing's been adjudicated or proven, and I got to be clear about that. Okay, but look, let's go on to some hypocrisy, right? So this guy who's 45 does not look 45. Guy looks like he's 65. Age did not treat him well. So if he was messing around, or, trying to mess around with his not so legal drinking age intern, what exactly would that be like? What would you call something like that? Again, older man in a position of power and a young woman. Well, we could go to a quote here. This is just to the grooming, the sexualization of our children. This comes down to decency, morality, and ethics. And children should not be the object of your sexualization, your desires. Does that sound similar? Does that sound like this could be that situation? Kind of. And that quote, of course, is from Brian Slayton. And yes, I'm aware of the fact that she has to be at least 18. But again, he's much, much older and has a position of authority. And so this either is a gross abuse of his power or could also be considered grooming. I don't know how long they've known each other. But back to Slatton's quote here. So he had made that quote on, during a discussion on drag shows. Because of course he did, right? In fact, Slatton had spent more than a year denouncing all ages drag performances, and last month introduced a bill to ban drag shows from having children in attendance. Again, even the ones that are just, not explicit. In the wake of these erotic drag performances sweeping our state, I committed last year to funding legislation that would stop this disgusting practice in the presence of children. This state has a duty to protect children from being sexually exploited, and HB 4129 is the most comprehensive bill to stop the sexualization of kids by these performances. Now, you might want to stop the sexualization of your interns. Allegedly. I'm just saying, you might want to look a little closer if you want to stop, if you want to stop exploitation, sexual exploitation. Okay? Look, even if you don't want to call it grooming, as I said before, can we at least agree that it's pretty effed up using your, again, position of authority over your subordinate to what I assume, and I think what everybody else assumes, is to try to get some sort of sexual favor, if not sex itself. I'm just saying.
Sexual anarchy.
It's possible. Very possible. Let's not pretend that that does not happen. So, now, it also should be noted that Slatton did file for divorce from his wife of 5 years back in April of 2022, according to court filings. But interestingly, in November, agreed to cease the divorce. So, technically, they're still married, but that might change. I'm just saying, oops, oops, oops. Now, also according to his website, just an interesting little fun fact, he has previously worked as a youth pastor. Red flags, red flags. They're everywhere. Flags everywhere. Big, big red ones. Why is it always people in the church? Now, what's his response? His response was to get the F out of there. Look, recently, well, let's just start out by saying this. He might as well have his portrait on a milk carton, because this guy is going. Slatton ended up missing, according to the Texas Tribune, one of the most important days of the legislative session on Thursday. That's when the Texas House debated their budget. So that's kind of a big effing deal, because, especially to him, because guess what? On that budget, he had proposed 27 amendments. Not one, not two, not three, 27 amendments. And then he decides not to show up? After this drops, oops, gone. I'm outie. Disappears. Coincidence? I think not. Again, we don't know if the allegations are true, but if they are, wouldn't be a surprise to me, because, like I always say, when it comes to these kinds of people, every accusation is a confession. Well, who shows up anymore? Oh, yeah, they showed up to work. Now, who does that? Nobody wants to work anymore. This guy, Slayton, he don't want to work anymore. Lazy. Entitled. Oh, my God. Okay. The number of show he has more likely done this before. It's got to get, all I'm saying is got to get adjudicated through the court before I can actually say that, yes, he has been shown to, that he has been, that he's guilty of this. So I have to say alleged. It's a legal thing. Trust me. Justin Pearson also reinstated absolutely based. I was worried yesterday that some of the threats that, the Republicans in the House were making to pull funding, I was worried that they were going to be, intimidated, but they ended up making the right decision. And so it's wonderful. Justin Pearson, along with Justin Jones, reinstated, and they will, of course, be running for a special election to regain their seats permanently. But for right now, they have been reappointed. Awesome. Memphis, based. You did the right thing. Fighting for the fighters. That's what I love to see. Love to see. Okay. A lot of us marched for Justin Pearson. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Why should they have to run again? Because again, it's Tennessee House rules. If you're expelled, if they vote to expel you, you have to have a special election to rerun for your seat, even if you are reappointed. That's just the way that they have written the laws there. Nonetheless, at least that they are, the other thing that sucks too is that they lose basically their seniority. So as now junior members, since they've been reinstated, they lost all their seniority, and they actually are not able to present as many bills as they were able to do so in their previous positions. So they still get screwed over in this attempt to silence them from House Republicans. But at least in this case, they are back, and they are using their platform, and they're using what they're able to do to reintroduce bills to try to do gun reform. And so that's the reality. I'm glad they're back in, but it's not fair. 100%, it was a fascist power grab by these Republicans in Tennessee. And everybody knows it for what it is. Okay. Let's get to the last story here. Let's get to Justice Thomas. You've been stripped of the committee assignments before being tossed out? Mm-hmm. The good thing here is that this is blowing up on the Republicans' face in Tennessee, and hopefully the voters in Tennessee will see this and will react appropriately to it and toss these guys out of office. So, again, by doing this, Republicans have raised the profile of these two amazing young black politicians and activists. And I think that overall, that's going to end up being a good thing. It's going to galvanize people. Okay. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who was recently found in a ProPublica report to have been the recipient of undisclosed gifts for decades from billionaire Harlan Crow. So he defended himself by saying, well, I didn't think I had to disclose these gifts. What's wrong? It's just, he's my friend. And, you know, he was just being very, very friendly and lavishing me with amazing, and me and my wife with amazing trips and all this wonderful stuff. The report from ProPublica detailed trips Thomas took on Crow's private plane, luxury yacht, as well as vacations to Crow's private resort in New York and a ranch in Texas. One trip in Indonesia in 2019 would have cost the Thomases about $500,000 if they had paid for it themselves. But here comes Daddy Billionaire coming in and saying, don't worry about it. Thomas, we got this. I got this. Daddy Crow got you taken care of. That's right. Now, in his statement on last Friday, after this report came out, Thomas said that the Crows are, quote, among our dearest friends. Gee, I wonder why. You think that way. And we've been friends for over 25 years, and that he and his wife had just joined them on a number of family trips, again, that were all expense paid. He wrote that he had consulted with colleagues and others in the judiciary, I'd love to know who they are, earlier in his career, who advised him that this sort of personal hospitality from close personal friends who did not personally have business before the court didn't have to be reported. Oh, you see, they never had business in front of the court themselves. They never filed an amicus. Okay, but I think that Crow was smart enough not to file an amicus himself, because that would, of course, lead to calls for Thomas to recuse himself, especially since this would get out. And by the way, stuff like this has been reported on before anyway. But so they got around it by not having Crow bring things in front of the Supreme Court, but Crow's friends. Crow has links to groups that file amicus briefs lobbying the Supreme Court. A lot of different cases. Pro-corporate cases, mainly. Since Crow was a real estate guy. And his trips also brought Thomas into contact with very wealthy donors and the heads of conservative groups like the Federalist Society. Now, when you look at all that, yeah, that looks like something that you should report because that's definitely the appearance of corruption. As a result, their Democrats set a push for more transparency, and a few have called for Thomas's impeachment. But let's be clear, the lack of transparency is not a new thing for Thomas. He's been corrupt for a very, 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 very long time, and has argued against transparency to hide that corruption. Let me give you some examples here from the lever. Justice Thomas, according to a deep dive into his record, had pushed to invalidate all political spending disclosure laws in America, insisting that donors have a constitutional right to anonymously influence politics with money. Influence, or basically bribe. That's what this is. It's bribes. Okay? Legal bribes. Justice Thomas says, legal bribe, good. I like legal bribes. So here's some examples of some court cases that he had filed some dissents on. In 2010, the Supreme Court issued its Citizens United ruling, which declared that independent expenditures, including those made by corporations, do not give rise to corruption or the appearance of corruption, and therefore could be made limitlessly. But Thomas said, no. I like that, but I don't think it went far enough. In fact, he had previously insisted that there is an established right to anonymous speech, which we know that's a code word for dark money. He had issued a concurring opinion insisting that judges should overturn all rules that require transparency in political spending. Quote, this court should invalidate mandatory disclosure and reporting requirements. He also argued that donors could face retaliation and ruined careers when they disclose their political spending, and cited an example from California in which supporters of a ballot measure ending same-sex marriage were allegedly harassed for donating to the ballot measure campaign. Well, again, you are literally trying to strip people of their civil rights. I would expect a little bit of, hey, why don't y'all stop being, supporting bigots with your money? Just saying. I mean, come on. Thomas decried the prospect of transparency, empowering members of the public to come up with ways to try to shame donors and the public officials that they bankrolled. So, essentially, he has been fighting to protect the donors from the people. Donors who actively donate to causes that are against the wishes of the vast majority of the American people. He is protecting the donors over human beings. Let's make that very, very clear. And as the lever points out, that even in cases where Thomas was on the majority and was in the majority opinion, he also issued concurring opinions arguing that, again, the court didn't go far enough in discarding political spending limits or disclosure laws, asserting that the court had erred in its 1976 decision in Buckley-Vallejo, which had upheld the constitutionality of contribution limits to federal candidates. Quote, by depriving donors of their right to speak through the candidate, this is sick. The whole thing is just sick. Contribution limits relegate donors' point of view to less effective modes of communication. These people have, gigantic dump trucks full of money and all the power to influence politicians. And yet, even with the flimsy campaign contribution limits that we have, this is not enough. We must have more money. We must have more dump trucks full of money. Disgusting. In 2000, this was a 2000 dissent from the court's majority in Nixon v. Shrink, Missouri government PAC, which upheld contribution limits to candidates and committees in Missouri. 2004, Thomas broke with the majority in McConnell versus FEC, which upheld key features of the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act of 2002, including a ban on limitless contributions to political parties. In that dissent, he argued the majority was allowing the established right to anonymous speech to be stripped away based on the flimsiest of justifications. Thomas similarly defended that right to anonymous speech by campaign donors in Citizens United in 2010, a case where it's been pointed out that watchdog groups, like Protect Our Elections, for example, had argued that Thomas should not have been a part of in any way, should have recused himself. Why would that be? Why would a Supreme Court justice have to recuse himself from this very important case? Well, it turns out his own nomination to the court in 1991 had been boosted by six-figure ad spending from the Citizens United Foundation, the very group that brought the case. But again, conflict of interest, don't care. It was later also revealed that Thomas and the late Justice Antonin Scalia had attended conferences hosted by Koch Industries, which uses its massive coffers to pour money into our elections and buy off our politicians, to buy off our government. An additional complaint from the group alleged that Thomas had claimed for over 20 years in federal ethics disclosure forms that his wife, Jenny Thomas, had no non-investment income, even though she had earned a salary for each of those years. Those disclosure forms required Thomas to swear to the accuracy of the information, which he did not. From 2003 to 2009, Jenny Thomas's annual salary of at least $120,000 came from the Koch-backed group Heritage Foundation. Thomas told the Los Angeles Times in the wake of the Citizens United decision that a new conservative lobbying group, Liberty Central, would be accepting donations made legal by the recent ruling. And of course, who were one of the biggest donors? Harlan Crow. He donated the initial $500,000 raised by Liberty Central, according to a report in Politico. Now she runs a consultancy group that takes as clients conservative groups attempting to, get this, influence the outcomes of Supreme Court cases. Well, weird. It's almost as if there's a gigantic, conflict of interest going on here. Weird. Finally, in 2014, after the majority struck down spending limits through, and this is aggregate spending limits from individuals in McCutcheon v. FEC, Thomas still was not impressed. He said, no, we need more dark money, even more dark money. We need the darkest kind of money. Yes, that's right. He said, this case represents yet another missed opportunity to right the course of our campaign finance jurisprudence by restoring a standard that is faithful to the First Amendment. So, but hold on, he's not arguing for the First Amendment. No, he's arguing for legalized corruption. Again, the darkest of the dark money. Anonymous corruption. So look, the reason that transparency to me is so important and should be important to everyone, even conservatives, is because it's part of the free marketplace of ideas. You see, we should at least have the right to know who the hell is buying our politicians. I mean, it would be nice to know so that we can make a decision in the free marketplace of ideas who to support, and also to look at why these politicians support certain policies, because they don't necessarily do it, based on the kindness of their heart. They don't cut taxes for rich people because they think, oh no, you see, I'm just making sure that our poor rich people get a fair shake, because they're just not getting a fair shake right now. No, it's because these politicians get money from those corporations who want to lower their taxes. It is simple as that. It comes down to greed. It comes down to corruption. And it comes down to legalized bribery, which all of these different decisions that Thomas argues did not go far enough were actually way too far, because they had opened up this country and their government, our government, for sale. Look, I know they love to argue that there is no appearance of corruption from lobbying, and we get that argument, by the way, from some Democrats as well. But if that's the case, why are people like Thomas and these conservative groups going to such lengths to hide where the money is coming from? They know. Look, they're more interested in gaslighting us into believing that there is no corruption. They're just talking to each other. The money has nothing to do with any of the decisions of these politicians at all whatsoever. No, it's gaslighting as they continue to take us further into this new Gilded Age. Doesn't take a lot of thinking to figure out that big money in politics is corruption. Isn't there I believe there's an Upton Sinclair quote that applies to this. And I know I'm probably going to butcher it. But basically, a man's understanding of something is based on... I told you I'm going to butcher it. But basically, no, I'm not even going to try. I know the quote, and I know it's really good. I just cannot remember how it goes. Damn it. But it's a fantastic quote. And I have to look it up now because I want to make sure that I get it right. Let's see. Let's see. Now I can't even remember it. What a disaster. Oh my God. You know what?
There's insanity in the control room.
When his livelihood depends on not understanding it. Thank you, Gypsy Mama. That's the one. That's the one. We know the message. I just wanted to find it. Thank you, Gypsy Mama, for saving me from that embarrassment of not remembering that amazing quote. ADHD, let me tell you.
We'll do it live.
That was me. That was me a couple of minutes ago. I can't remember. Okay. Anyway, so look, that's all I got for y'all today. Please like and share the stream. Very, very important that you do so. You know, y'all probably gonna clip it, and that's fine. It's all good. Okay. Twitch. No, we'll start with YouTube super chats and person, woman, man, camera, TV. True. Do I even have that? I probably do.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV.
All right. Jonathan Leiter, thank you for the very kind super chat saying paging major oops. Paging major oops. Okay. Gabby Mathis, thank you for gifting a sub, a membership on YouTube. Cy Abelman, thank you for the very kind $20 super chat. Appreciate that. Jonathan Leiter, thank you for the one gifted membership on YouTube. Brown Note, thank you for the very kind super chat as well. Gabby Mathis with member comment here. Resign Clarence or impeach him. I know I am wishful thinking. That's the thing, though. I don't think there's anything's going to happen. I don't think he's going to get removed at all. It's ridiculous. Gabby says it will just provoke young voters. Republicans will learn a hard lesson in 2024. Keeping my fingers crossed. We can only hope. And Jonathan Leiter says, I still believe Anita Hill. Anita Hill tried to warn us. Okay. Let's see. Twitch community. Let's see. Nothing new as far as bits or subs or anything like that. But again, thank you so much to the Twitch community for the new follows. Dark money is just another name for blood money, says Toom and Tim. And we should be able to know who owns the politician. At the very least, we should be able to know. Just wouldn't it be nice? Would it be nice to know? Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. 3 Republicans are calling for him to be removed. Oh, is that is it? Yeah, the Texas story. Good. They should. It's the right thing to do. Ava Mira, thank you for the very kind 400 biddies. Appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much. All right. Everybody, we're going to raid in. Let's raid into James from the internet. Haven't done a raid on him for a while, so check that out. Everyone else, YouTube, Facebook, thank you for joining me. Love you all. Have a great night, and we'll see you back here later on. Love you all, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, everybody.
Amazing. Sexual anarchy. Oh my God! He admitted! Obama!
Disappointed!
Get in the long tube with a bunch of bees.
Woke mob.
The wokers!
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.